Hey everyone, Moises Mendoza with SE Studios, and I am back to you with another episode of Local Lens. Today we have Andrew Rickli, aka Strat, the CEO of Alpine Trading. We're going to talk about something that I know very little about, but I've always wanted to know more about, which is stocks. Andrew, thank you for being on today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, I just want to jump kind of straight into it. Talk to me a little bit about your background because for me, anyone who understands anything about stocks is just like I'm a creative in the terms of that side, so the numbers and stuff just intimidate the hell out of me.
Yeah, well, you're not alone in that, right? I think like we did a street interview, and 9 out of 10 people that we interviewed have never been into the stock market at all. So my background is in corporate finance. I'm formally trained in finance, undergrad in finance, master's degree, business degree, finance.
Numbers is your thing.
Numbers, yeah, I'm a very analytical and numbers driven person. But it's funny that you said you're kind of intimidated by the stock market because that's what the majority of people say. But everything that I learned in undergrad and in grad school, none of that applies into the stock market. So it's kind of crazy to think about being formally trained in finance and not using any of that finance to trade every single day in the stock market.
That's awesome. But do you think that background made you more comfortable going into it, or how did kind of talk to me how you even got into it?
Well, I think when we all think of the stock market, we think of buying something today and holding it for 40 years and then selling it at retirement and telling all of our friends how much money we made when Tesla went to the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, when I think of trading, when I think of the stock market, I think of trading, actively being able to make money every single day versus parking money into it today and then pulling that money out 40 years from now. So I got into the stock market actually when I had my first corporate job outside of my undergrad degree. I went to work for a bank and I got involved into the employee stock purchase program. And I was like, this is kind of cool. I can like see our company's stock moving up and I'm putting money in each paycheck and this is, kind of cool. Wasn't actively trading it, but I was actively investing in it and I was, invested in watching it every single day and what it was doing. When headlines would come out, I would see the stock fluctuate and move. So that was really cool. That's how I got into it. And then my first big win with trading came with Ethereum, which is actually a
Oh yeah,
cryptocurrency.
yeah.
Kind of an altcoin is what they call them of Bitcoin. I'll never forget it. I bought it on Thanksgiving Day in 2020, and in April I sold it for 1,000%. So it was
Jeez.
bought the coins for $400 and sold them for 4,000, and I was like, this is easy. Like I can do this. This is
Wow.
easy. During the COVID market, everything was ripping.
Yeah.
The whole market was moving up, and a lot of people made a lot of money. And then I found that I couldn't just buy something in the morning and sell it at lunchtime and make money when the market started, trending down. So I was like, how can I make money if the stocks move up and if they move down? And that's when I really got into options trading, and that's what I do now. So I trade options in the market, and I'm able to trade volatility on stocks that like Apple, Tesla, SPY, the S&P 500. I can trade all of those things if they're moving up or they're moving down.
Okay. So pretend you're talking to a kindergartner. What does options mean? Like, talk to me, which I am actually probably a kindergartner when it comes to this, and some of the audience definitely is as well. What does that exactly mean?
So an option basically gives you the right to buy or sell a stock at a certain point in time. So let's take Apple for example. If Apple's trading today it's at $190 today, I can theoretically go buy $200 call options on Apple for let's say 10 to 15 to $20. So I'd put 10 or 15, $20 in and I would buy $200 call options on Apple, and all I'm doing is I'm anticipating the move on Apple to move up towards 200. Apple doesn't have to go all the way to 200, but if it does, those contracts gain value and then I'm able to sell them for let's say $30 and I bought them at 20. So now I've made,
Oh,
50%.
wow.
Options are basically just a contract to buy or sell the stock at a certain period of time in the future. Now, a lot of people ask, do I have to hold the options contract? Do I have to, because it's, and I'm like, no, all I'm doing is just trading, buying it for $1 and trying to sell it for $1.20. The best way to describe it is I'm a big shoe guy. I like to collect shoes and watches.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I like to do. So if I were to buy a pair of shoes for $100, I'm just trying to sell those shoes for 125, 150, and I'm trying to make, a percentage gain on that. That's all I'm doing with options trading is the exact same. The best way to describe options trading and being in the stock market is almost like sports gambling, except you actually have a tactical edge with it. So in our community, we have a lot of people who are into sports gambling and they want to, gamble on the weekends for the big games. But when you come into the community, what we do is we, tact. Sorry, we're gonna cut that out.
You're good. You're good.
A lot of people in our community are sports gamblers. They like to, sports bet, all those types of things. With options trading, it's very similar, but you actually have a tactical advantage and a tactical edge based on, your winning strategy and your playbook and things like that.
That's incredible. I mean, you just seem very knowledgeable about all this. So how would you kind of recommend somebody to get started? Should they download any certain apps? Is there any that you like over the other? If I had, say, $1,000 in my pocket that I'm saying I want to get into stocks, I don't know how. What do I do?
The first thing I would do is you're going to have to open up a brokerage account. And a lot of people don't know what those are, but it's basically like opening up a bank account that allows you to use that money to trade the stocks. So you open up a brokerage account. The one I use is called Webull. It's free to download on the App Store.
I've heard about it.
Very, very easy to download and very easy to use. Once you do that, I actually wouldn't put any of your money into the stock market just yet. You can do something on these apps called paper trade, which is simulated trading. So it allows you to trade real time, but it's with simulated dollars. So basically, you can learn how to use the app. You can learn how to get in and out of positions. You can learn how to, hone in on your strategy. And then once you've back tested and done that for a while, then it's time to put your real money in. And the difference between paper trading and real trading is the emotional side of it. So it hits different when you're in a trade and every dollar the stock is moving up, you're making $1,000, and every dollar the stock is moving down, you're losing $1,000. Versus being in a paper trade where there's no emotional tie to it. So
that's smart, and it allows you to kind of get your feet wet before
exactly
it gets too crazy. Yeah, I bought a bunch of Dogecoin and it never did anything, but how about it is? It's funny nowadays that there's like meme stocks and all that. So how do you feel about? I know you probably saw all the GameStop stuff that happened. How do you feel about those meme stocks and the fact that people weren't able to actually influence the stock market that much?
I think it was awesome. I think it was the first time that retail traders really took over and said, we can do this. And everyone it was really cool to see, right? Everyone on Reddit and Wall Street Bets, everyone like came together as like one massive community against the hedge funds. I don't know if I feel bad for those guys because they did lose billions, but they made it right back. But it was really cool to see. I did make a little bit of money on AMC, but one of my buddies in Texas, he actually profited, I think it was close to $20 million on AMC.
Wow.
He caught AMC at $2 and it went to 36 or something like that.
Yeah, to the moon. I remember. I was on the craze. I'd bought a ton. And,
to the moon. Yeah.
I didn't make nearly as much, but
yeah, no, I didn't make that either. But it was really cool to see, and like having someone that like was kind of involved in that meme stock friends was really cool to see. And they actually just did a movie on it too.
I watched it. It was really good. And not to be weird, I thought of you the whole time. I was just I was like, I gotta talk to him about this and what he thinks about all this stuff.
Yeah.
But so what advice would you say to somebody who like, when is a good time to sell and stuff like that? Like my problem is I hold on to stocks way too long. And then I'm like, I don't know why I just don't sell. Like what advice do you have to that?
The biggest thing I can say is, when you look at a stock chart, and I know everyone probably roll their eyes because they're intimidated. It's a chart. It has lines. It has numbers. I don't like looking at that because I'm not a numbers person. When you look at a stock chart, what you're looking at is the psychology of buyers and sellers. So it's no different than going into the real estate market and seeing, is the market hot right now? Is the market slow right now? Mm-hmm. So when you're in a stock, one of the best things you can do is just pull up a chart, even if you're on Google, Yahoo, wherever you want to pull it up at, and just look and see where you're at relative to where you've been. So a good example is, NVIDIA is a name that I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah.
That went from about $100 a share up to $750 a share. And that name right now is approaching all-time highs. It's at all-time highs. So like if I was in that stock long-term, that's probably one where I would start to, sell a few shares. I think you asked me about Meta.
Yeah. My Meta, it's double right now.
Yeah. Meta's doing really, really well. I wish I would have added a lot more Meta at $80 a share because now I think it's at about 475.
Yeah.
And so, I think I told you if it drops below like 460, it's probably going to fall back down to 420. And the reason I'm able to do that is because I just look at the chart and I'm just saying, is there support here? Is there resistance? Very, very similar to the housing market, right? There's always going to be a ceiling that you're going to hit in any type of market, and there's usually a floor that you're going to hit as well. So if you can find those as a long-term investor, you can make a lot of money.
So how would you say about kind of applying emotions to stock trading? Because like I only buy stocks of just companies that I genuinely like and believe in. Like Meta, when it went down really bad, everybody was just like, the metaverse is a flop, all stuff. But I was like, Meta's too powerful. I love everything that they've done. So that's when I just bought a ton of Meta, and now look where it's at.
Yeah, I think Warren Buffett said it best too. This is for long-term investing. You always want to buy companies that you use daily because if you believe in the company, if you use it daily, that means that there is some value in that company. And I do the same thing. If I use a company, I have some exposure to them. Same thing with Meta, right? I thought the same thing with Meta. I didn't add as much as what I should have. But when Tesla dropped last year down to about $100, I was like, there's no reason Tesla should be at $100 a share right now. Bought it, and it went back to 300. Another stock that we did this with actually a couple weeks ago was Spirit Airlines. I don't know if you heard about what happened with Spirit, but there was a deal that was going to happen with JetBlue. They had a merger deal, and the DOJ blocked the deal due to like a antitrust monopoly type of situation. Well, the deal was valued at, I think, the deal was valued at $30 a share. At the time, Spirit was trading at 15. When the news headline hit that the deal was a no-go, Spirit tanked down to like $4 a share. And in our community, I told everyone I'm going to be adding Spirit long-term here because it's still an airline. They're just not merging with JetBlue. And 3 days later, our shares were up 120%. Wow. So it was that's the power of the stock market.
Wow. So you have a lot of knowledge. Obviously, it seems like you could educate people. What are your plans right now to kind of let all that out?
Well, I've been working with my business partner, and we've been, one of the biggest things that we're trying to do now is hit a big market, because like I told you before, I did those street interviews, and I'd say about 9 out of 10 people have never been exposed to the stock market. Because if you think about it, in high school, no one tells us about the stock market. No one says that we can actually make money every single day. And so my goal is just to empower people with the knowledge. Now, whether they follow through with it or not, that's up to them. But I wouldn't be where I'm at today if someone hadn't empowered me with saying, hey, you can actually do this. I tried it and fell in love with it, and here I am, all these years later.
So do you have any specific products or ways they can find you or anything along those lines?
Yeah, for sure. We actually do a free trial right now, so people can come in. I have a whole course, actually, which is probably the best thing that I would recommend. It's a 101 level course. So the things we talked about today with the support and resistance, setting up your Webull account, your brokerage account, it's a free course that's out there, free trial to join us. We actually also developed an algorithm specific to my trading strategy, which is kind of cool. One of my buddies is a systems engineer, and he's developed kind of trading algorithms, and we just developed this one. We probably finished it about a month ago, and it's really, really powerful. So there's proprietary things that fire this algo on buy and sell mode, but essentially what it does is when the setup occurs, what I trade and what happens, you can get a push notification sent right to your phone that says buy algo triggered. So I can get notified and say, hey, do I actually want to buy this? Do I want to, take advantage of it? And then there's sell algos as well. So if it thinks the stock's going to pull down, it'll send you a sell algo trigger, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, we have a free trial right now, but that's probably going to end pretty soon. And the whole reason we did the free trial and gave this course away, it's a 30-hour course, I believe. The reason we gave it away was because there's just so many bad apples in our space, and there's so many gurus out there who will charge people $200, $300, $400, $500 for a course. And I just didn't think it was fair for people to pay that kind of money to figure out if they actually wanted to learn how to trade and get into the market. So for me, it was like, let's give it all away and see if people actually want to do it. And then if they do, then, they can come in and join us in our community.
That's awesome. So I want to talk about something that I think is really important, and that is that community. It seems like you've got a really good sphere of influence around you. Talk to me about why that's important to be successful.
Yeah, I think, you're only as strong as your weakest link, right? The people that are around you. And so I kind of built my network over the last few years with people that I aspired, that I looked up to, and that I wanted to be, right? Because I always say if I'm the smartest guy in the room, then I'm in the wrong room. So for me, it's always trying to surround myself with people who are doing it better than me, or people who have things that I want to, I don't want to just like buy someone's boat. I want to figure out like, how did you get the money to buy that boat? Yeah. Like, that's what I'm always in my mind. I'm like, what is it that you have, or what is it that you do that makes you successful, and how can I implement that in my life and in my routines? So my social media following really blew up on Twitter, which is now X. A few years ago, I was trading live every single day on what was then called Twitter Spaces. We had a few guests on there, like Grant Cardone, which was kind of cool. So we got to, and still talk to Grant now, which is really huge. Cool. So I've kind of built my network from there, and I amassed like 35,000 followers there. And I'm slowly building my Instagram out now and YouTube and things like that. But for me, it's like my network is, my net worth. So I always want to keep really good people in my network, and I do have a lot of people in my network, but I also have like a very small, tight circle of friends too. You know, the ones that you can always go back to and you can trust them, because as you know, when you start to grow and you get influence and you have popularity, there's people that show up in your life that weren't there before.
or wouldn't be there for any other reason than
Exactly.
where you're at.
Exactly. So that's probably the hardest thing about having the influence in the following.
Yeah, well, and it seems like anybody who is in your immediate circle is going to benefit from what you have going on up here,
Exactly.
which I think is really incredible because you want to share that with people that you genuinely care about.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. I've seen, some of my close friends, do really well in the market, and I get texts every day. I got one today. My friend was up 30% on his account. We actually had a trade this morning that went 600% in about 30 minutes. So it was really, really cool. And
Okay, I'm gonna get on that algo.
Yeah.
I need that. I need that info.
Yeah.
So what do you see in the next few years? Where do you want to be? What do you want to see with your company?
I want to keep growing as much as I can, but I also want to help other people hit certain goals that they want to hit. So whether that's in trading, whether that's helping other creators in the space get to a certain level. When I came into the space, I wasn't really a creator. I was very good at trading, but I wasn't a creator. So now I'm starting to shift from learning to trade back then to now learning to be a creator in the same time, because I used to be a social media scroller. I still am sometimes, but it's different when you're using social media for content creation.
Yeah.
Going from a consumer to a creator, it's a little bit different. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, I mean, even this podcast, I'm usually behind the camera, but
Yeah.
I figured you have to kind of start putting yourself out there if you want to keep spreading your brand.
Exactly. So for me, what I'd like to do with Alpine is continue to do. We had a really big in-person event. Our first one we did I guess we did it 3 weeks ago in Houston. It was awesome. Really, really nice turnout. So that's what I'd like to be able to do. There's so much online education and online content right now. Being able to do something in person just makes it hit a little bit different and makes it kind of seem real.
Yeah.
And so I was able to see people get really, really motivated in person. And we've been to conferences before. We went to a really big YouTube conference in October in Dallas, and seeing some of those people on stage and the way they were able to motivate and captivate people, like, it was a really powerful feeling. So that's something that I'd like to do eventually, is kind of fill a big stadium up with people and talk to them about whatever it is we're going to talk about, whether it's trading, life, motivation, business, anything like that.
That's awesome. I love it. It's cool to see like where you started and where your journey is at now. And I'm personally excited to see where you're at in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. So
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to tune in and follow.
I'm excited, so I appreciate it.
And I will take the course and I will let people know how it is. I'm sure it's going to be incredible.
Awesome. Thank you.
For sure. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. He is a guru. So take his advice, take the course, look it up. I'm sure it's going to be incredible. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.